So it started with Maarten de Bruin, the first founder of Spyker. He built his dream vision in his shed in the back. It's called in Dutch or in Latin the Mouse. He built that car from scratch in his backyard with a V8, Audi V8. Maarten was a total Audi fan. He built it then with Audi parts, almost exactly as the Spykers are now built. He took the 4.2 liter, fitted in a very light car, and drove with it, got a registration. And then Victor Muller, the CEO, met Maarten de Bruin, and he said, I'll be your, let's say, financial guy, and I'll be your investor, and I will make this brand together with you. They purchased the brand rights, or they made the new brand rights of Spyker, so they revamped it. It was silent. So they started building pre-productions. I know the Spyker family well. They come often to me and they contact me often. And Victor Muller knew that the brand rights were still in the hands of the Spyker family. So he went to the family and he said, I want to call my car a Spyker. Are you okay with that? And that family has like a local garage in Utrecht. That's a city in the Netherlands. And those people said, yeah, we're up to that. So he gave them some cufflinks and they gave it to the Spyker family as a trade for the brand rights. That was what the family got. And then Victor put the badge of Spyker, which is the same badge as they previously had. Even the logo is the signature of the grandfather of the Spyker family. They are still very fond of those cars. Even the Spyker family later, when they got married, they were able to get one of those cars and drove it during their marriage. So that's where it all started. After that, they went to the UK with CPP. They started building prototypes. They call it pre-productions. They started with pre-production 1. So that's chassis number 001. Then they also made a La Violette together and drove that everywhere to see the reaction of the people. Good reaction, got some more investors, and they started making more cars. Making more cars, selling to friends. So a few investors got a car, and from there they started making more cars in England. All hand-built, hand-beaten panels, and that lasted up until chassis number 70. So you think there would be 70 Spyker from the UK build. That's not true. They also gave the race cars also chassis number. They gave the prototypes, so the double 12, also the double 12s got that chassis number. What also got those chassis number were the SUV and all those other prototypes. So in reality, there will be, I think, about 50 UK cars, 50 C8 CPP cars. And that's then Spider and La Violette and a few double 12s. And they also made, I think, in those days about 10 race cars. Those also had chassis numbers. So up until chassis number 70, then it stopped. Then there's a huge gap of about, I think, 15 cars. And then they started working with Karmann. And Karmann is a German manufacturer. And they did that to increase the volume, but also the quality of the panels and also the car itself. And the huge difference when you see a CPP or a Karmann is the headlights. And also a Karmann is always wide body. And a CPP is not wide body, or usually not wide body. They did a few wide body CPPs, but those they called Spyker C8 Spider T, as in turbo, but they had only different flares and they didn't do the turbo. It's funny that they thought that they would do the turbo, they never did it. When they started the Karmann series, they jumped about 15 chassis numbers. Then during the Karmann period, they also usually skipped a few numbers just to tell the investors that they would make more cars they would actually do. So in reality, the last Spyker that left the factory is chassis number 266. And 266 is an aileron. They made 7 or 8 ailerons. So everything before that is going to about chassis number 250, 251. So everybody thinks that there's 250 C8s. In reality, it's 200. So from those 200, you will have about 120 Spyders. I usually say about 60 Laviolets, then 13 double 12s, and some prototypes. And that's it. That's the complete production. So the double 12, they only made 13, and that's the, let's say, the long tail, longer, wider, and they made them to homologate the Le Mans cars. So they needed the length and the width to put a different engine in it. And they only, I think, drove a few years, and then they started doing races with the normal C8, with the C8 Spyder and the Laviolette. So Maarten finished, I think, his mouse in 1999. The first CPP car finished in 2000, 2001. So this chassis number 001 debuted in 2000. So in a few years, we have 25 years of existence of the Spyker. And the Carman was about 2005. So in 2000, they started chassis number 001. Then it took another year to build the next one. And then it took a few years to build another few pre-production series. So there's a huge step between the mouse. And I think it's still, if you ever see a picture of the mouse, then you know it's a really accomplishment to get from the mouse to the first one. The vision there is insane that people could make such a leap forward. And then also the quality change between the first pre-productions and the really productions. That's also a huge step. So I have pre-production 1, 2, and 3. Pre-production 3, that's my wide body, my first wide body, and that's also my first Spyker. They built quite a lot of C8s. And then the idea was that the US market and other markets really want to have a bigger car and an automatic gearbox. That's why they went from a small C8 to a bigger C8 aileron, which is quite a lot heavier and also bigger. And the idea was to also build that with production molds. So they had a huge investment in making a production line with welding robots, jigs and everything. And in the end, they made all the parts, so 100 windscreens, 100, everything times 100. And they started production, had a few engineering cars. And in the end, I think only 3 left the factory as custom cars. The rest is all prototype or an engineering car. That's where it's really stopped. The market thought an aileron was pretty, but it's almost twice as heavy as a normal C8. And it's the same power and an automatic gearbox. So that wasn't the thrill that people would like. And it also wasn't ready for the US market yet. So they couldn't sell it in the US. So the market was really small. It was either Europe or Russia, and that's it. So they couldn't sell it anywhere else. So the market was too small and they couldn't sell it to the US, where there's also a big market. And that's where also they really would like to have the automatic gearbox at that time. And that didn't go well. So they couldn't bring it here. They did show it here and they did drive it everywhere. I had one. So I had chassis number 253, ex-engineering car. And that one, I usually called it my Maserati from the collection. Looks beautiful, sounds beautiful, doesn't drive that good. It's slow. It still thinks it's an Audi A8, but it's beautiful. Spyker went bankrupt twice. Once they went bankrupt. I think it was also when they were still finishing the C8s. It was during also the Saab period. Also, they previously did Formula 1, Le Mans. It's a huge amount of investment to go and Formula 1 and doing Saab, and the market wasn't that well. So there was a bankruptcy. They had a lot of suppliers that didn't get paid. The suppliers filed for bankruptcy, and bankruptcy unfortunately happened. But in the end, Victor got some investors and paid off the bankruptcy and did another run and started all over again. The idea at that time was to finish some ailerons, but that didn't happen. He finished, I think, 2 ailerons in that time, and that's where also I came in, because I, at that time, came in contact with Victor, helped him with a few parts to finish the cars, like for instance the diffuser polishing, all those small things I helped him. And in about, I think, 5 years ago, they went bankrupt again. And it's also due to the fact that there were, again, suppliers that didn't get paid. And that's what happens, because what happened with the second bankruptcy is that they didn't produce cars. They were more or less in hibernation. But still you have another, you have personnel to pay, you have rent to pay. But if you don't do the after sales, you don't have revenue, then at one point it will just go on the costs. If you don't sell anything, you can't spend anything. And that's what happened during the second bankruptcy. And in that time, I already knew, that was about, I think, 10 years ago, I started after sales because I knew that they were in hibernation. So I started producing parts. Even Spyker bought parts from me to be able to service the cars all over the world. But still, I was in a better position to supply parts, and they didn't have the personnel to keep the cars alive. So that's where I stepped in and made all the parts. They even bought a steering wheel from me.
Right now, we've got the best deal we've ever offered from Avalon King. Their AS9 DIY ceramic coating is $30 off at the link in the description below, making it the best value in the world of ceramic coatings. They've also got half off of their IPA prep spray if you want that as well. It makes it so much easier to put the coating on, to level it out, and get the shine that you're looking for. 1 box is enough for a small to medium-sized car, maybe 2 if you've got a big SUV, and really anybody can coat an entire car in about an hour and a half. So check them out now at the link in the description below to thank them for their support of VINwiki and make your car look incredible with Avalon King.